Hi everyone. I am late on this one, like super late, to the point where this is probably actually, by the time I actually get done with this video and post it online, it will probably technically be Thursday already. But I am still getting to it technically on Wednesday. Okay. So, as it is the first of the month, technically for the next 18 minutes, and I don't. I've normally been starting the month off with my Who Would Wins with my Bleach Who Wins. Bleach Captain versus an opponent of my choice or one of your choices. And with that said, while I have one written down for Squad 8's Shunsui Kyoku, if you can suggest one for me to put for Shunsui's opponent, I will consider it. I'll put it up against the one I already wrote down. If I like it better, I will write that one down instead. But the point being, that was actually going to be this week's fight. But then I got a request from Zion Z. Now, I haven't put all the captains in this fight because in the Who Would Wins because we don't know the full roster of abilities for all the captains. Like we don't know Unohana, we don't know we don't know Ukitake Shinji, but also some captain but also with someone like Aizen, it's kind of just a different scenario of circumstance about it. It's like Aizen kind of deserves his own Who Will Win outside the Bleach ones. But I got a request from Zion Z, shout out, to do a Who Would Win with Sosuke Aizen. And he asked for me to do Sosuke Aizen versus Madara Uchiha. And I'm like, well, might as well. They suggested it, I'm going to do it. But the thing about these two characters, both these two characters, is that, first off, even in their base forms, they're OP. But they had multiple transformations throughout the series and attained gods-like status in their own respective universes and continuities. So with this one, I kind of had to do two different Who Would Wins in one video. Madara and Aizen verse each other in base form without any real enhancements, and then verse them in god forms. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at. So, starting with Sosuke Aizen. Sosuke Aizen was, for the longest time, the main antagonist of Bleach. He is at least twice as strong in terms of Ryatsu as a normal captain level. His Ryatsu in just his base form, and we're not going to factor in him after the whole fake Karakura Town arc, simply because we don't know the full scope of his abilities after that. So I have to use him up until the fake Karakura arc, even though theoretically he's still strong. He's stronger in the other arc. But no, he's considered to be one of, if not the smartest characters in the Bleach franchise. Second, probably only to Urahara. Even Aizen says Urahara is smarter than he is. But he's amazingly polite, soft-spoken, intellectually spoken, but he's also condescending, arrogant, has a superiority complex. He freaks the f*** out whenever he comes up against something he doesn't understand and can't comprehend that happened right in front of his eyes, like when Ichigo just destroyed his black coffin. Just the fuck? Just, yeah. Genius level intellect. He's a master manipulator. Easily can get under people's skin. He's able to adapt on the fly to tactics, readjust his strategy right on the fly. He is a Keto master using pretty much knows all the Kitos, including like Hado 99, which is the strongest Hado we ever saw in the series, which is apparently a giant lightning dragon or something like that. Another one he loves to use is the Hado 90 Black Coffin, which manipulates gravity and time inside the coffin's dimensions. Using the number Hado 81, which basically repels any Kitos, 80 something or lower. Shumpo Master, easily able to even outmaneuver Soifone, who is a Shumpo Master herself. Spiritual energy is, monstrous even by Captain standards, has at least twice the amount a normal one does. She's strong enough to stop Sajin Komamura's Bankai with just his hand and blade, which if you recall Sajin's Bankai, for those of you who don't, it's a giant with a sword. He's a giant, massive samurai Oni giant thing with a giant sword, easily 300 feet tall, something along those lines, minimum, and with massive strength enough to cut down giant hollows with a swing, wreak havoc on a landscape. He can stop it with one hand. His Zanpakuto is Kyoka Soigetsu, which is, what was it? Mirror Veil, I believe it's Mirror Veil or Water Mirror Moonflower or no, Water Mirror Flower or Flower Mirror Moon or Flower or something like, or Water Moon. That was it, Water Moon. Point being, its ability is absolute hypnosis. Absolute hypnosis. It controls all 5 senses: visual, ears, touch. It can make you believe that whatever you're up against is real. To all your senses, you can feel this thing is right here, and then poof, it disappears and melts away. It can be countered by grabbing the blade before it activates. Those who have enough spiritual awareness to sense the actual blade of Kyoku Sogetsu can find where Aizen is. But overall, it's an extremely difficult ability to go up against. He is also a master swordsman in many regards. We have never seen the true extent of his ability. Excuse me, I have a cold if I sound a little stuffy. But he is highly skilled. So to the point where he usually can end a fight usually in 1 or 2 strokes. Now, when he reaches his hollow form, he is when he reached his strongest hollow form, he can regenerate. His regeneration is capable of regenerating in minutes or within a minute, strong enough to destroy giant masses of chunks of earth and mountain with just a motion of his arm. His spiritual presence is strong enough that pretty much normal human souls would dissolve in his presence, and even if someone touched him with high spiritual power, they could still be, destroyed or dissolved. He's capable of dematerializing and teleporting within an instant. Once he hit that weird butterfly angel hollow thing, whatever that was, he was capable of firing basically giant or Cero bombs from the hollow mass on his wings, like pretty much like bombs, and just causing massive craters and destructions, and just that can be felt from miles away. And then this one I never understood. That was called Fraga, by the way. And then Ultra Fragar. That thing where he basically formed energy that solidified around Ichigo's neck. Like, was it for containment, or was it supposed to actually hurt him? I mean, he's got that technique, but without knowing what it actually does, Ichigo just broke it. I don't really know what it can do. I don't think any of us know what it can do. I assume it's some sort of binding, powerful pain technique or something like that. But anyway, yeah, Sosuke Aizen. Now, and also with the Hogyaku in that hollow form, he's nigh immortal. I think it's possible he can die, but he's nigh immortal. So, yeah. Then we have Madara Uchiha. Now, Madara Uchiha is a lover of battle. He loves fighting, including against Hashirama and strong opponents. He is also a bit arrogant. However, if he realizes an opponent is much stronger than he seems, assuming he didn't take it for granted to begin with, he will apologize and then quickly make work of them. He feels insulted that the opponent isn't giving them their all. He has extremely strong and large chakra reserves, super chakra reserves, high pain tolerance to the point where he can survive a massive barrage from the tail beast, losing his arm, doesn't even flinch, losing an eye, doesn't even flinch. He's in a super adept sensor to the point where he could locate people in other countries, even understand a person's Kekkei Genkai bloodline ability, breed of animal or species, so forth. He has a war fan that can repel attacks, slice through things, blow back individuals. He's got decades of combat experience on the back. Because he lived through war. He is a warrior, true and true. Now, while he did gain pretty much all the chocolate elements, we really only see in base form him using wood release because he got it from Hashirama, which we're not really going to factor in this fight. Oh, and fire release. Fire release was his main one we saw him use. Now, once again, the Rinnegan and stuff like that, of course he had access to all of them, but Point being, he used the fire attacks like fire style, Great Fire Annihilation, which was a giant wall of fire, hiding in ash and dust, which made a cloud of burning ash and dust that covered a field that he could hide in. Dragon Flame Song Release, or Dragon Flame Release Song, depending on how you pronounce it, which fired dragon-headed shaped fireballs at the opponent. Another one, Fire Destruction. I didn't quite write the name down fully, but Fire Destruction. It was a more concentrated, whereas the annihilation was widespread, the destruction was concentrated to the point where it was like super high intense flames. His Sharingan, capable of seeing through illusions, Genjutsu, copying movements, recognizing ninjutsu, so things along those lines. We all know what Sharingan does. His Eterna Mange Kyo Sharingan. As far as we know, he never used Amaterasu or Tsukiyomi, but he did use Susanoo, which he was able to use 4 arms, 4 blades. I might mispronounce this technique, but Yata Megara, I think it was, something along those lines. Basically, the long-range technique that fired basically the projectiles that were massive. Had ethereal blades attached to them, capable of just massive shock waves. Energy blast slashes. They weren't Tosuke swords, the one that Itachi had, but they were still dangerous, massively dangerous. In his Jinchuriki form, basically only someone who could open the 8 gates or had Sage Chakra could even compete with him. He has super regeneration to the point where he could survive bifurcation. He literally survived the Night Guy Assault, which like obliterated half his body, but he was able to regenerate from that. It nearly killed him, but he nearly regenerated. He's able to use all the chakra natures which when they all are together form the truth-seeking balls, which can be used as explosives. You shouldn't touch them. They can like disintegrate normal individuals that don't have Sage Chakra or 6 Sage Chakra. They can be malleable. They can shape. They can move independently. They can be used as shields, weapons. He's capable of Storm Release, Light Fang, I believe it was, which was it literally moves at the speed of light. It's a long, basically like stream light that goes and just can cut through anything. And Naruto was able to dodge that. So how fast is Naruto? His Limbo is basically like think the stage is 6 paths. Basically, it's his paths and like a limbo dimension, which he can use for blocking and attacking things along those lines. A few other things. He's capable of negating Jujutsu and Chakra, but doesn't matter. He's got the Eternal Tsukiyomi if it's a full moon. His truth-seeking balls do have a limited range, about 70 meters. Rinnegan lets him have all the 6 pass abilities, so absorbing Chakra, which wouldn't really matter in this fight. Soul manipulation, all that good stuff. Shira Tensei, which I don't want. Here's the thing, I think he forgot, honestly, at that point that he had that ability. Now, with Aizen in his form, he is more reckless. Or Hari even said that in Aizen even admitted that he's more reckless, doesn't have... beforehand he kept Kido around him as a barrier, even around his blind spots. Madara, though, still kept cautious in certain regards. But anyway, let's get to this. So we have 2 different versions of the... where the hell are my numbers going? I have a headache. I got a head cold, so forgive me if I'm a little off kilter. 2 different versions of this fight. So let's go with base form Madara versus base form Sosuke Aizen. So, the way the fight starts off, let's say the fake Korokoro town is not fake Korokoro town, it's fake Konoha arc. And Sosuke comes down and he, wreaks out, and then Madara shows up. And they confront each other. Madara immediately senses Aizen's power, and Aizen even senses that this guy is not someone this guy is someone I need to eliminate really quickly. So Madara basically charges in, but in preparing hand sights, all the while Aizen activates his Zanpakuto, the flash of his Zanpakuto real quick, but that still doesn't avoid the great fire annihilation, which Madara does, just a wall of flames coming. Fortunately, Aizen just Shumpo's around him. And is about to deliver the killing blow just to make it stop. But then, Madara activates Susanoo's ribcage. Activates Susanoo's ribcage, and then uses an arm to just blow Sosuke Aizen back. Sosuke's really a little shaken, but fine otherwise, because, you know, that's a lot of strength. But, you know, he's handled worse. Then Madara uses the Yata Masta, the long range thing, and starts throwing long range at Aizen. Aizen is surprised, thinks that, you know, Madara's just seeing his illusions, but he quickly realizes that, you know, they're starting to come at him, so he has to dodge and block, and he's wondering how Madara is doing this. Now, right here, we got to stop at the fight. The question, obviously, is could Soigetsu affect Madara? Visually, no, because the Sharingan, when trained well enough, can see through pretty much any genjutsu, and we're talking about Madara's Sharingan, so it could see through any of the visual tricks that Sosuke's using. However, I do believe it could affect him in other ways, because it affects the five senses. Now, it's not going to affect him visually, which is why he can see Aizen perfectly fine. Excuse me. But while Sosuke is doing this, as he's blocking and dodging, Madara just simply comments like, "You cannot. There's nothing that escapes my eyes." Aizen hears this, evaluates this, and is like, "All right, I got to do something. I got to somehow use his vision against him or something like that." But all the while, Madara then swings his swings at him with all four of his Susanoo arms, just ching, ching, ching. This is not a perfect Susanoo yet, by the way. This is not his full one, just ching, ching. Meanwhile, Aizen's blocking, dodging, but, you know, having a difficult time, semi-difficult time, because he's got to block four different blades, but overall he can handle it pretty much. And all of a sudden he gets engulfed by the fire destruction, which basically he comes out relatively like he did against Yamamoto's flame pillar. So just... so he's a little singed, but otherwise fine. All the while, Madara again uses the long range. I'm just call it Yata. The Yatas to, you know, come and attack Madara Aizen, but Aizen uses Bakudo 81. Those block, and then fires a couple Kido blasts, high level Kido, to see if he can get through the Susanoo's defense. Susanoo's defense is pretty sturdy, but he's still shaking Madara a bit. So Madara uses Hide and Ash while he's got just cloaks the field. Sosuke realizes this stuff burns, but I can use it to my advantage now. Starts messing with Madara's ears, his other senses. Madara thinks he's hearing something somewhere, but he's sensing things in our direction. He's starting to be a little, so he starts attacking. All the while, all of a sudden, he hears this incantation for the Hado 90, and then the black coffin emerges. Like Aizen then just arrogantly starts, calmly explains, like, now that I'm using the incantation, Hado 90 will bend space and time in your proximity. Gravity itself will become distorted. You will feel the power of a god. And just like with Ichigo, that though the thing's closing out just as it closes, boom! Perfect Susanoo just rears its head up, and just blows away Sosuke's Hado. And Sosuke just, even with, like, back then, he's like, what the fuck? It's like, he broke through my Kido. How? I used the incantation and everything. How could he do that? So then while he's dealing with that, yeah, he's got Hado number. So while he's doing that, the freaking, remember, forearm. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't forearm. Well, he was forearm, but he had two blades, and I believe what happened was he drew his blade from his hands. Is what happened. So brings that down, slams it down. Aizen blocks, but the difference between Komamoro's Bankai being a solidified blade and a giant blade of pretty much energy, there's a key difference between the two. Now, I do believe Aizen blocks the blast, but it's a different thing that Aizen has to do. So Aizen just, and then he gets forced down. Basically, he stops the blade from cutting him, but he gets kind of thrown into the ground. And now it's pretty much Aizen versus Perfect Susanoo Madara. And when it gets down to this, at this point, Aizen can do whatever he wants. I mean, visually, he's not going to be able to affect Madara, and which would be one of his big advantages with his Zanpakuto. He might have the durability to last a while, but when it breaks down, even no matter how smart he is, I mean, his best bet would be a tactical retreat at that point because he knows he can't win. in the battle. But this is how these battles go. There's no running away. Aizen would probably still be like, no, I'm gonna figure out a way to, and all of a sudden gets grabbed. It's just, Aizen's trying to blast out with Kido. Maybe it starts to burn his hand. Then Madara just either tries to crush him, slams the blade, and eventually I break it down that Madara wins in the base form fight. This is gonna be a long video. Actually, no, it's not. It's probably not gonna last more than 5 minutes. So in base form fight, Madara wins I think about 6 times out of 10. It's a close fight because if Aizen's durable enough and has enough Kido and things along those lines to take a lot of hits and keep on ticking basically. But I think the majority of fight actually goes to Madara because Madara has a lot more. Despite how old Aizen is compared to Madara and Shinigami in general compared to humans, Madara just has far more actual on-field combat experience than Aizen is. Aizen's more of a schemer and a planner. He's skilled and he's like god level, but he's he's not quite doesn't have the experience that Madara is actually being in a warfare for so long. So that's that. Then we go into god forms. I see this. Aizen arrives on the battlefield towards let's say the Ten Tails. Madara is there. They talk about how there's only one god, and then they go into the fight. And they clash. Now, I do believe that Madara is at a point where Aizen's Ryatsu wouldn't immediately hurt him. I think he'd be like Ichigo a little bit, that he'd be on a high enough level that he would not technically be hurt by his Ryatsu alone. So the blades clash, stats clash. Madara's going to hold the edge in just hand-to-hand combat, just again because of experience. Aizen will get annoyed with this, and then he's going to fire off his Zero bombs or whatever you want to call them. Madara's going to counter with his truth-seeking orbs. There's going to be a giant explosion. He's going to have his staff still, but the orbs can actually be destroyed and not regenerate. So there's that. So the orbs don't regenerate. Aizen then comes and grabs him by the throat, knocks him around a bit, but then he gets suddenly hit by something, the limbos. He can maybe sense the limbos, but he doesn't quite know where he is, so he just decides to completely and utterly eviscerate this entire battlefield with Zeros and blow up. The limbos maybe get destroyed, but then Madara basically reappears and then does Storm-style light thing, and he just slices Aizen in half. Aizen might be able to regenerate from that. Remember, he withstood Mugetsu. But we're talking about light speed instantaneous cut. So unless he's able to grab his body, the regeneration might take a bit. All the while it gives Madara more time to beat him down. But overall, they're on par in terms of their physical abilities. Where the fight's going to actually change is if Madara can activate a Tsukuyomi effect or just a super genjutsu. I don't think Aizen at that point, because he kind of goes into a bit slightly more primal state of mind. I think if he can get Aizen, because there's nothing that says Aizen can't be affected by a genjutsu or hypnosis. Just because he's super intellectual doesn't mean he can't. I mean, Orochimaru's super intellectual. He got affected by it. Any of them really could have been. So really, I think it comes down to excuse me. I think it comes down to Madara's just got a more wider range of abilities. Their regeneration's on par. And using Light Fang to maybe try to if he could maybe decapitate him, that might work. But yeah, if he gets this infinite Tsukuyomi off, I think, and honestly, he has more versatility in God mode than honestly Aizen does. That's why actually I think he wins 7 times out of 10 in that regard, so 70% of the time. Yeah, especially you see Aizen just there. And yeah, Aizen's technically immortal, but he's like not immortal. They just haven't come across something that could kill him yet. But I'm glad I'm almost done this video. I'm starting to really lose it. But I would think that if you take his head off, you might win. And with that technique, you could definitely possibly take his head off. Plus, that hypnosis might just be the trick to put him down. I could see Aizen just like that. So yeah, but overall, both times, I do actually think Madara wins because of better combat experience, because just far more versatility, and the Sharingan is a very handy tool to have. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As those who want to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I have 2 videos to come out later today, Thursday. Magic and superhero. Stay tuned for those. I'm really gonna have to. I'm gonna probably go to bed a little bit because I just need. I'm losing it fast because I'm everywhere in my mindset. I'm feeling very out of it. But yeah. Also Logan tomorrow. Can't wait to see that. Yeah. Any ideas for who would win Star Wars? What if? Superhero, magic, please put it in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to it at some point. Dragon Ball Super review will be up on Saturday, box office on Sunday, and anything else that maybe pops up. So thanks for watching. See you next time.